Hi loves, it's your girl Mojolajesuvictoria and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This video is a beginner friendly makeup tutorial to guide you on your makeup journey. Before going in with primers, I like to tell people to look like a glazed donut, and you can achieve this with your usual skincare routine. If you don't do skincare, make sure you use moisturizer. Be properly moisturized before going in with primer. Just like your skincare, you tailor your makeup products to your skin type. Because I have combination skin, I like to use two primers. I use one from Adventure Makeup and I use the other one from Elf. The one from Elf gives me a more satin finish, so I put that on my cheeks, while the one from Adventure has a very matte finish, so I put that on my T-zone areas where I sweat the most. I like to give my primers time to dry, so I go in with my brow routine. You can either use a wax, brow gel, or something that just is tacky on your brows. Use that to brush into your brows. I like to brush forward, backwards, up, down, just to make sure that all of the product is going into my brow hairs. When I brush properly, I'm then going to use my hand to flatten my brows just to have that sleek brow look. Because you don't want to shiny brows, you go in with your pressed powder. I use this one for Maybelline Fit Me, and I just use a brush and sparingly put that on my brows. You don't want to pack powder and then you have brown stuff all over your eyebrows. Make sure you put your powder on the pressed powder and dust it on your hand before going on your brows lightly. This is just to mattify and dry out your brows. Now to the step that scares everybody, and it honestly took me so long before I got out of my brows. Make sure that pencil is thin. For the longest time, I used to just sharpen my pencil and feel like that was okay, but no, you need to let that pencil be as thin as possible, and also go in with your brows very light. I never understood how lightly people used to tell me to go in with my brows, but the hold you have on that pencil should not be hard at all. Very lightly, and when you're going with your brows, be light as well. Another thing I found is that only filling the parts that don't have hairs. I used to feel somehow filling up some parts and leaving some parts out, then I end up looking like what I don't know. But I learned that actually fill up the sparse areas. Don't put your pencil where there's hair. Once there's no hair there, fill it up, but once there's hair, leave it. Like, don't fill up every single part. Please listen to me. If you don't listen to anything, this step of your brow routine can either break or make the entire progress you've had all along. You need a concealer that is only 2 shades lighter than you. Don't go too light because you're going to look somehow, I promise you. You also need a very flat brush like the one I have in this video. It usually comes at the underside of the spoolie, just something flat and a bit angled. The products at the back of my hand so that I have more control over the quantity that I put in, because I don't want to put in too much. What you want to do is you go in with that concealer and the brush and go around your brows. Just follow the outline. Don't create a new line. Follow exactly the outline that you have on your brows at the moment and just use it to conceal anything that might have stained outside of the shape that you want. This next step is one of my favorite steps of my makeup routine. Honestly, every step is one of my favorite steps of my makeup routine, but it is my brows. I like to go in with an eyeshadow primer, but if you don't have one, you can honestly use a concealer, the same one that you use to conceal your eyebrows. I use the one from Adventure and I think it does a really good job. I like it. You want to put your primer or your concealer, whichever one you're using, all over your eyelid. Just put that very well enough. I recently just got a primer and I prefer a primer because it helps the eyeshadow pop more, while the concealer just gives you that base that you need to put your eyeshadow on, but both works well, I promise you. What makes eyeshadow particularly difficult for beginners is the lack of precision. For eyeshadow, you need a lot of precision, so I advise you to go in with a lot of small fluffy brushes. You also need some flat brushes, but whatever you do, use small brushes for your eyeshadow. I absolutely love this Made by Nature palette. I use it in shade Deep, and I use one of the brown shades in this palette to set my eyes, but you don't want to put it everywhere. You take a very fluffy brush, hold your brush at the end so that your hand can be light, and brush over your brow crease. Your brow crease is basically the curve of your brows. You do that and also tap a little bit of that brown shade at the end, just your crease and the ends. Don't put it any other place. The next palette I'm going to be using for this look is a Blossom African Queen palette. I absolutely love this palette so much. It's so beautiful and it has a very large range of colors. I play around with colors, so I use two shimmery goldish brownish colors and I just tap my brushes into both of the colors. I put them both on my lid. Basically, you want to touch the part of your eyes that feels where your eyeballs are, so you put it with a very smaller brush than you used for the brown shade. Put that just on that moving part of your eyes, and you don't take it into the brown. You put it just at the front towards the end, and just go back and forth and tap it, tap it into your lid. You always want to tap it into your lid to get more color out of your eyeshadow. After that, you go back in with the brush that has your brown shade. You don't need to add more color, just use that same brush and brush your crease and the ends again. This is just to smoothing out and give a smoother transition between both colors. When all of that is done, you don't want harsh lines, so you go in with your pressed powder. I just go in with a fluffy brush, a new one entirely, and use it to brush below my brows and brush all over my eyeshadow look, just so that I have a smoother transitions between colors and there's no harsh line whatsoever on my brows. The next step is also one of my favorite parts of the makeup routine, and that is the blush. I love blush, guys. I go in with Made by Mitchell palette, the same shade deep, but I use the cream palette this time around. I like to use the shade Cherry Cola because it has a very beautiful subtle look. I apply my blush according to my face shape, so you also need to find your face shape and know what blush position works best for you. It doesn't even have to be what works best for you, it might be what you actually prefer. I like my blush a little bit high above my cheekbone, so that is what I do. So I just apply with a dense brush. You want a brush that is not fluffy, a dense brush. I just pack the product on the brush and dab it all over my face where I want my blush to be. The next step is contour. I like to use a darker shade of concealer for my contour. I use this one from Say Beauty. I like it so much because it has a very glowy look. So I put my contour at the back of my palms. I use this contour brush from Made by Mitchell too. I dab that on the contour that is behind my hands and just put it right below my cheekbones, and I brush upwards because I want that snatched look. Contour positioning is also all about your preference and your face shape. I like to put my right below my cheekbone. Using my actual concealer shade, I go in with shade 11, also from Say Beauty. Put that under my eyes, but not directly under. I want it a little bit away from under my eyes so that it's easier to blend upwards. Screenshot the concealer position so that you know where your concealer is supposed to be. Remember, you want this to be 2 shades lighter than you, nothing more. My brush set is from Mang. I don't know how to pronounce it right. I love it so much because it has a lot of brushes. It has every single thing I need. I use this particular brush for my concealer. I like it because it is dense and it's also small enough to get under my eyes. I start my blending from my chin, then I do above my chin. I like to make under my eyes the last step just so that my concealer has enough time to set properly before I actually go ahead with blending. For your blending, you always want to dab, not drag. Don't drag your product. Make sure you are always dabbing it. There are 2 simple rules in blending your concealer. The first is that you start to blend from the end towards the front, from the end to the front. You blend upward, you blend the concealer up under your crease. Looking up gives you a flatter surface to blend against. Using a small angle fluffy brush, go in again with my contour color and contour my nose. What I do is I take the color from below my eyebrows, then bring it down to the mid of my nose, then I also go under my nose and just blend that gently. This step is absolutely optional, but I go in with a second concealer. I use this in shade number 3 in Adventure Makeup, and I put that at just the inner corners. You see I didn't put it everywhere, just the inner corners. You want the concealer to dry a lot more than you allowed the first one to dry. So while that is drying out, I go with my foundation. I like to use this very small dense brush for my foundation. I just put a little of that on the brush and blend everywhere where I have not put product. That's right below my contour around my cheek area. This foundation is from V Beauty and I absolutely love it so much. I prefer to use a damp beauty blender to blend my second concealer. I said damp, not wet. You don't want water coming out of your beauty blender. I just want it to be damp. This softens up your beauty blender, makes it so much easier and more seamless to blend your concealer. The same principle applies. Look up and blend, but for this one you don't want to take it anywhere. Just blend where you put it, at that corner. Immediately, without waiting, go in with your pressed powder. I use a powder puff. When you dab your powder puff on the pressed powder, dust the excess off at the back of your hand and go under your eyes. Look up and tap. You also want to do the same thing for every other place where you put your concealer. That is on your chin, below your nose and your forehead. I also like to pinch the powder puff and use it to mattify my nose because I can get sweaty. I use this big fluffy brush for my powdered blush. I go in with Made by Mitchell palette again, the pressed version, and go on top of my cheekbone where I put my blush earlier. The same principle applies for the contour. I go in with the pressed version of the color I used for my contour earlier and also go over where I put my contour previously. To set all that makeup, you're going to need your pressed powder again. I go in with a fluffy brush. This one is clear of any color. I put that into my pressed powder and set my entire face. For longer wear and a more polished looking makeup, you want to use a setting powder. I use two. I use the one from Nuba Beauty and Sacha. I use Nuba Beauty in shade Caramel. I like to apply my setting powder with a powder puff. I have a totally different one that I use for my setting powder. I make sure that the powder is smooth on the powder puff, not rough, because if it's on rough patches on your puff, it's going to be rough when you apply it on your face. So I just go that under my eye and dab gently. While my face is baking, I do my lip combo. Baking is basically leaving your setting powder on your face for a period of time. This allows your makeup last a little bit longer. Never forget to blend your lip liners. You don't want your lip liner to be looking harsh against your lips, so make sure you blend either with your fingers or by rubbing your lips together. I love a nude look, especially when it has a pinkish undertone, and I found the perfect gloss for it. I just put that in the middle of my lips and blend together again. I then go over that with a clear gloss. I use a medium-sized fluffy brush to dust off my setting powder gently I do that by tapping it into my skin properly. I like a little bit of brightness under my eyes, so that's why I go in with my Sacha setting powder. I use it in shade butter yellow or something. It's just a yellowish shade. I use the same powder, but just apply a little bit of that at the inner corners of my eyes, the same way I do my second concealer. I don't go all over. I just put that at the corner where I want some brightness. I also give that some time to bake. While I wait, I line my waterline. The trick I use is that I take a very flat brush and it's very small with the mouth a bit pointed. I'm going with a black eyeshadow and just line my waterline with that. I find that with using a very flat brush, I get more precision and control over how I do my liner. Because we've used a lot of powdered products and we don't want to look cakey, we're going with a setting spray. How to differentiate between a setting and a fixing spray? A setting spray is water based, while a fixing spray is alcohol based. The difference is that a setting spray melts your makeup together and a fixing spray is actually what holds your makeup all day. You want to spray this a few inches away from your face. If not, I'm going to upend all of the progress you've made so far. I like to do my mascara right after my setting spray before my fixing spray because I do not want to risk a running mascara. In order to avoid staining your eyeshadow look with your mascara, you want to hold a small mirror under your chin and look down at it and apply your mascara that way. My finishing spray is a stay on spray from Flawless Ivy. It is the absolute best finishing spray I've ever used. It does not have an oily finish. It makes your makeup stay on your face. It is waterproof. I really love it. That's basically all it takes to do your makeup, a soft glam, whatever you want to call it. I hope this was really helpful. I tried my possible best to explain the steps. If you have any more questions, make sure you leave them in the comments. If there's any other look you'd like me to recreate or an eyeshadow tutorial that you might want, just let me know. I'm happy to make more videos for you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share to any of your friends you think this might be useful to. See you all in the next video. Bye, loves.